Sometimes some people will want to jump on like viral trends or things that are working at the moment, and their product won't fit into that.
Yeah.
So although that concept is doing really, really well, if it doesn't fit your niche of your product, then there's no point even trying it, because you're just wasting quality time that you could put towards getting a decent content. So I think that's important too. Just don't get distracted by like what's going viral, the numbers and the views. Instead, take a step back and think, okay, is this piece of content actually going to provide value and be important for other people? If not, if it's just following a trend, I wouldn't follow it.
Yeah, I think B2B or B2C, the sooner you can earn credibility, the more likelihood you're going to get results. Whether it is, like I said, B2B or B2C. B2C would be like working with people like yourself who can actually have a physical product in front of you and pushing that and how you do that. B2B, it's, for me, it's right, how do you go local to local companies, get feedback straight away to then pass that on. Before you even think about the big brands or as well, Pets or Homes or Hilton's or anything like that. Bob around the corner who's got the small little shop, what does he think? Yeah. Right? Yeah. What does he say? And you test your processes as well. So I think it's key. The quicker you can become credible, it's going to help you with success going forward.
You need to keep up with like the trend of the product as well, because you'll find certain products are always upgrading, or there's new like scientific studies, or it's now doing this. With that then comes different trends, and you need to make sure that you're in front of it before your competitors do it as well. So I know with many businesses that I've had, I've been ahead of the game because I've stayed in good communication with my suppliers. But there is a state where I speak to many members where they're like, oh, I've done this, I've done like my content, I've done ad creators, and they're like, but I've just seen another competitor, and there's now an upgraded version of it, they've got these USPs, and then that can almost change the feel and look of the brand as well, because it might be it's more minimal, it's more modern, so that then changes the feel of it, and you have to keep up with that. And I know, especially with the cosmetic niche, if you actually go through like the aesthetics of cosmetics over the years, it's changed so much.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us on this podcast. We're going to be talking a little bit more about product research, how you go about it in like more of a B2B fashion, how you can utilize it to increase your branding. Again, product research in terms of the products you want to advertise, what is going in the trend at the moment, how you would utilize it in terms of essentially advert research. And then for myself, obviously, I'm going to be touching a little bit more on how to use it in terms of the marketing aspect, looking into the different people who are going to market and what they're doing to gain the results. But I think we've got perfect, obviously a nice blend of people that we can obviously take from. But first, Alex, you want to touch a little bit more on what is one of the main questions that we get asked is how to do product research. I know obviously we've got this massive system that we're bringing in now that is going to make all our lives easy and probably, hopefully, fire Anna. But with that system, obviously, and traditional methods as well, obviously, we've exercised the system. What's the main things that you kind of like look into?
Yeah, so there's so many different ways for to find a product within B2B, but the basics behind all of the product searches and basically what B2B is in general is a solution to a problem. So when you bear that in mind, it's a case of then, right, how we can actually look into finding a product. So the way I like to do it personally is first, number one, is establish what niche you want to go into. Because once you know the type of area you want to go to, then that will then, you can niche down into that niche. So as an example, I like to write down, what are the biggest niches out there? So let's give examples: hotel industries, sports industries. I don't know. You can keep going. Yeah. Let's just say the hotel industry, because there's a lot of hotels out there, meaning there's a lot of places you can approach to get your product in there. Cool. Right. From there, so there's a couple of ways you can go about it. But one thing I like to do now is, Google what are the 10 biggest hotels out there. All right. That'll bring up a list. Let's say the Hilton's number one. I like to then go on review sites like Trustpilot and Google, and then let's just say Hilton come up top of that list. I like to then have a look on all the bad reviews and see if there's any common themes on there. Because then you've got a problem, and then is there a solution to that? So for example, I know one come up with odours in dog-friendly hotels. So right, what is the solution to that problem, to odors, and then looking on Alibaba, looking on tools like we're introducing, to then find out what products can actually help that, and then you've then got a customer that potentially help you.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that in summary of what you were saying there, essentially is what we do a lot of the time is reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Which I think is massive for when you're creating content on ad creators and stuff like that. I guess you use somewhat of a similar method of Alex in terms of not Google and stuff like that, but you would use a reverse engineer to look into hooks and look into trending stuff. What process of like when you're researching a different ad creative, or if you get given a brand, what's your process from start to finish to researching that brand to finding the end product for the content?
I would say the first thing you need to do is like look through all of the different social media platforms, look on Google Trends, find your competitors and see what they're doing. And I always think don't go and just like surface level, scroll to the very bottom and see what they were doing when they started. Because I get a lot of people as well kind of comparing their content from what their competitors are doing now. And I'm like, that's probably a year on.
Yeah, they've had years to do that.
Yeah, that's not fair. You need to go and look at when they started and compare yourself from them. So that's probably the first thing I would do.
Do you get a lot of difficulty in terms of misbranding? And obviously Anna can maybe touch on that as well in a minute, but do you know when someone sends you a concept, do you ever have to go like, look, it doesn't really fit your brand? If
they're confused.
They're like, oh yeah, this video looks really sick, but then you're like, it doesn't really suit your brand.
Sometimes some people will want to jump on like viral trends or things that are working at the moment, and their product won't fit into that.
Yeah.
So although that concept is doing really, really well, if it doesn't fit your niche of your product, then there's no point even trying it, because you're just wasting quality time that you could put towards getting a decent content. So I think that's important too. Just don't get distracted by like what's going viral, the numbers and the views. Instead, take a step back and think, okay, is this piece of content actually going to provide value and be important for other people? If not, if it's just following a trend, I wouldn't follow it.
Definitely, yeah. And Anna as well, on the back of that, do you think that it could potentially discredit your branding if you were to, and Yaiza obviously could touch on as well, but if you were to follow a trend that wasn't within your branding niche, say, I don't know what trends are at the moment, but something that was obviously mainly towards maybe a younger audience, you've got a more of an established, elegant audience, but you want it to be, you try and do it, does that somewhat discredit you as well, do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's so easy to do that when you're not clear on what your brand is and what it stands for, because you'll find a lot of people just flip from loads of different things anyway, and that's where people are never really going to buy into your brand, because you don't even know your messaging or your target audience. Because why would you want to jump on a trend where your target audience aren't going to be interested in that? But when it comes to product research as well, I think we all see loads of different types of members, which is how you would then decide how you're going to do your product research from that, because we'll have some members that are already in some sort of expertise that know what they want to go into, and they'd do their product research from there and implement their brand from there. So they're probably the ones that would have a clear structure on how they want to brand, have more information about their target audience. Trying different trends could work if you don't know, if you're like, oh, I've got like 5 target audience lists in my brand portfolio. Let me see what target audience is going to buy to what. What kind of content. So you could naturally, you're going to have a phase like that.
I think this is where it's key, and this is what you do well. Your branding, or when you're working with people, is what the core values of that business or that brand, and what are the goals, what you're actually trying to achieve out of everything you're doing. And then, like you said, reverse engineer. You can work backwards from that.
I think that translates into your B2B as well. Like everything that you do needs to have an element of trust. Branding is the biggest form of trust, and creating a Yaiza, obviously from being the video content idea, the UGC is to create an element of trust. The purpose of it is to provide an after purchase effect. But I think that translates into B2B. You've got an element of trust where you might have a different level of branding because you're talking directly to a hierarchy of people. Obviously there's a level of professionalism right to it, but it still has to be an element of trustworthiness, so you still have to have your branding correct.
Yeah, I think B2B or B2C, the sooner you can earn credibility, the more likelihood you're going to get results. Whether it is, like I said, B2B or B2C. B2C would be like working with people like yourself who can actually have a physical product in front of you and pushing that and how you do that. B2B, for me, it's right, how do you go local to local companies, get feedback straight away to then pass that on. Before you even think about the big brands or as well, Pets for Homes or Hilton's or anything like that. Bob around the corner who's got the small little shop, what does he think?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does he say? And you test your processes as well. So I think it's key. The quicker you can become credible, it's going to help you with success going forward.
In the element of research, do you also storyboard the research in terms of the pacing of videos are going to be different compared to the products as well?
I do. I think there's a lot of things that you need to look at, but one thing that I notice members do the most is like they found their product, they're happy, and Anna kind of hit it on the nail earlier, was saying that they jump on those trends because they're a bit confused. So you need to do the research, you need to look at your competitors, see what's working, but people forget that through doing all of their previous research with what Alex said, the B2B, finding that problem in a hotel, if they note down all of these things, they're content ideas.
Yeah.
So you can take inspiration from what's gone out there, but then you need to make it your own. And if you've noted down all of these problem and solutions, all of this research you've been doing previously just to find your product, you just need to put that into a video, and they are your ideas that will work and that will resonate with people.
100%. I'm not too sure if you do it this way as well, but when I have members who are trying to find B2B products, say for example they find something on Amazon that they feel like they do sell, look at the frequently asked questions at the bottom, and then straight away there's some of your different content ideas straight away. There's little bits of goldmine you can find, especially questions like on TikTok where you got a viral video, and you have about 300-400 comments, and people are asking questions. Does it do this? Does it do that? Well, there's a bit of content you could do straight away for it to push your
Definitely, and I think
achieve.
I know I've spoke to Anna. I don't know how to say we. I'm a very third person.
Yeah,
I'm that much of an aura about myself now, guys, that I speak to myself in God mode. I am
very big
weird.
headed. Yeah,
Not surprised.
yeah.
I'm 6 foot, but I'm 6'6" with my head. But I think me and Anna have discussed previously as well, is obviously there's a constant element of brand changing. And like Alex said there, that the concept of looking through the questions, and I think this is something that we need to get across as well, is that there's initial phase of research. How often do you research, or is there a continual level of research to constantly adapt your branding? Now, you obviously have core values, but
I think you need to keep up with like the trend of the product as well, because you'll find certain products are always upgrading, or there's new like scientific studies, or it's now doing this. With that then comes different trends, and you need to make sure that you're in front of it before your competitors do it as well. So I know with many businesses that I've had, I've been ahead of the game because I've stayed in good communication with my suppliers. But there is a state where I speak to many members where they're like, oh, I've done this, I've done like my content, I've done ad creators, and they're like, but I've just seen another competitor, there's now an upgraded version of it, they've got these USPs, and then that can almost change the feel and look of the brand as well, because it might be it's more minimal, it's more modern, so that then changes the feel of it, and you have to keep up with that. And I know, especially with the cosmetic niche, if you actually go through like the aesthetics of cosmetics over the years, it's changed so much. Even like the sport industry, just the way we've evolved, the way we want to see things, the way we want people to communicate with each other is completely different. So if you're keeping up with that, you're always going to be in front of what you need to change with your brand. And if you're behind, you then look like an old brand that isn't keeping up, and people won't want to buy from you.
I think you highlighted business in general it's fluid.
Yeah,
things change.
it's changing.
And don't be reactive, be proactive.
Yeah.
And like you said there, there's things you can do. You can reach out to people, surveys, and see what your customers say as well, because their wants might change.
Yeah.
So you might have to adapt with that as well. So Yeah,
the
100%.
functionality of
Yeah.
products as well. Like sometimes, you know, I know like with the teeth whitening industry, we'd be like, oh, this is great. And then it'd be like, people then don't like certain things because things have evolved. Like
Yeah.
we don't like putting things in our mouth. We don't want to rip things off. We want it to dissolve. Like,
Yeah,
so you have to keep on top of that.
Definitely, yeah. No, I think just before we end, Isa, I wanted Isa to touch on a little bit more on the creative research between different locations as well, because your content you would create for the UK would be vastly different in terms of the US. So is there a process of research in the different locations as well to fit within the content?
I feel like that's just making sure that you're not doing things surface level and like looking into where your competitors are based and where the ads that you've looked at are based as well. Because at the end of the day, Americans or like places outside the UK do their ads very differently. So you just need to make sure that you're doing your research in the correct location. And I think at the end of the day, it's also down to kind of how you're wanting your ads to look like as well. If you're wanting to target them outside the UK, then just make sure that you're researching down that lane. I think it's very easy for people to just look up something in a search bar, see the first video that comes up and go with that. So it's really, in my opinion, just down to taking the time and realizing that looking for content and looking for good quality content isn't something that should be skipped. It's a really important step to the whole process. And I think it's something that people leave to the last minute most of the time. Maybe potentially after they've even purchased the product and decided what they want, and then they do that. But it's not. There should be something at the beginning that you should do when researching and trialing different products out, I think.
Definitely, and I think just to wrap it up, I think the key takeaways from myself, and obviously listening to you guys and stuff like that, is that in-depth research is going to be key to any level of branding. Understand your tone of voice. Tone of voice. If you don't understand your tone of voice, and Anna reflects, and I think that stood out a lot, is confusion is as much as a killer as anything. You don't understand where you're going or your direction. And again, like Alex said, that credibility is vastly important. You need to be sure who you are, and you need to gain credibility quite quick. And I think that'll then drive you forward in terms of the research. But again, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm sure we'll catch you on the next one.